third episode of this second edition of the Detroit City Sportscast. You know, Adam can tell me if this is actually the third, fourth, or fifth version, but I'm going to say it's the second one right now and the most current.
We'll go with the second version. That's fine.
So Garret Komatz here hosting. You obviously know the big chief who's popping in at Mr. Adam Hernandez himself. He's getting ready, as you can tell. We're a couple weeks away from baseball. We'll talk about that near the very end. This is going to be a mostly talking. We'll get to the Detroit Red Wings in period 2 and why you're seeing this baby-faced motherfucker right here. But the first period is going to be all about Detroit City. Les Rouges is starting their season for the men's USL Championship this coming Saturday night. The women have a few games left in their PASL season before playoffs. It would not be a Detroit City preview to USL Championship and what we have been at without getting someone who Adam and I and many other people feel is one of the premier voices for Detroit City supporter content. Someone that has been involved in the club in different facets, from club writer to manager of the club bar and all of the shenanigans, that anything from club events to Monday night trivia that sometimes is just the two of us.
Don't forget to name the segment, Garrett. Name the segment.
On that, and the person that we are naming this segment after. Someone who, in addition to those things, also does a hell of a Patreon.
What's the name of the segment, Garrett?
City Make Spence with Sean Spence. Someone that a talent and someone that I am honored in this life to be with. Sean, how are you this evening?
I mean, I'm well. I began to shrink as you described me, and at this point, I'm about 3 inches tall. I'm standing on the table, craning my neck to reach the microphone. So
he's very uncomfortable now, Gary.
Besides that, I am absolutely great, and it's good to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. We're here. We are here once again. Detroit City starting things up. These off seasons continue to get shorter and shorter. But to get into this season, we need to talk about last season and the fact that Detroit City, while they made the playoffs and won the first round matchup against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, it was a season that was a little bit different than we, as diehards involved in various levels over the years, have come to expect. In particular, once again, the last spot in the Eastern Conference, maybe out of the 16 teams getting into the playoffs, West and East, the very bottom, 30 goals scored in 34 games. Sean, to give your thoughts on last year, do you see that last season as just a stumble and a slip in the road, or do you see it as a potential of maybe, unfortunately, things to come?
I mean, I think that it looked as if last season was the continuation of a slow downward trend that really, like, you could almost plot from the beginning of 2022 all the way through 2023. The team gradually losing like confidence and cohesion, and really just, backing into the playoffs, and then getting, a really rousing, I mean, that's the kind of sport soccer is. They got a rousing performance, got a couple breaks, and won their first ever playoff match. So, and then reality came crashing back down the next weekend when Louisville kind of contemptuously dismissed us from the playoffs. In the aftermath of that, I don't think I'm alone in saying that was a disappointing outcome, right? Despite the first ever win. And, the evidence is that the front office decided it was time to make changes. And, I think that what happened was basically Detroit City went from a traditional old school manager setup where the manager is the Supremo, who calls out all the shots, which was, Trevor James. They went to a modern kind of head coach, GM setup, which is becoming more and more popular across world football for a lot of reasons. Right. And I think you can see the reasons in this year's roster. Now what I'm saying is that I think there was a clear need for some changes, and the changes have been made, and I think this is going to be a pretty the first significant discontinuity in City's play on the field since Trevor's arrival in 2019.
I just quickly, sorry, Garret.
Yeah, you're good.
The cohesion that you were speaking of, Sean, was, I can only imagine this was, a huge challenge for Trevor. And, as, I don't know if things got any easier as the season went on. Do you suspect that this was a kind of like a trouble finding cohesion on the pitch, off the pitch? And I also wanted to touch on too of, the last article that you wrote for Words About Shapes. You're talking about the defense too with this team, and possibly that being a little concerning for you as well heading into the year, and something that obviously we'll touch on later with Matty Lewis. But can you kind of maybe expand on that a little bit more?
Yeah, okay, so kind of tracing it back to the declining cohesion, it's like the we came into the USL Championship having kind of stomped Nisa flat. Barely lost a match. Really looked in control of almost every match, and we knew that was going to be a change. But we had a ton of confidence, and kind of we really didn't change that many people. We kind of just swapped in some Nisa All-Stars, like that was the joke. But I mean, we really did just swap in the guys that Trevor had spent 2 years scouting, and made a run at it. I mean, it's hard to remember now, but mid-season of that first year, we were second in the East, and on the up. And then Devin got hurt. And
at Indy, yeah.
And it all kind of, that cohesion started to unravel a little bit, and just you need a certain amount of talent. You can only, let's say, you're whatever sort of unspoken spooky understandings develop between the players while they're on the field. That's only a little sweetener, right? That's 15-20%. You need a base of talent to make that worth anything. And the base of talent was just that first year was very thin.
And speaking of that too, Sean, sorry, just real quick.
Yeah.
Do you think it's difficult too? I mean, given how long some of these players have been with each other, obviously there's some of them still going back to the NPSL days. Do you think it's difficult for some of these new players coming into the system, especially when Trevor was still here, to,
shake the stigma?
Find a place on this team, given some of that, some of the relationships and some of the, familiarity that guys have had.
Yeah, I think it's possible that that's happening. But overall, I think what's gone on is the guys who've come in, we've just missed on a couple guys. And we talk about a guy like Skaga Simonson, who a year ago we were just over the moon about, and he was over the moon to be here, and something happened along the way. I mean, he's out of football, and it appears to be going to be he's going to retire at 23 or whatever. I think the things that the people they brought in last year, a lot of them made sense, but none of them claimed a spot in the first 11, really. It felt like Ben started a ton because somebody has to, and Yazid was hurt, and we didn't have another striker. And Skaga was supposed to be that, and didn't want to be that, and got too sad to play, and and so going back to the question, the defense, I think it's just a matter of it getting tougher in year 2 because we didn't have the MLS 2 teams. Like if you go back, that was my memory of that first season in USL, is that like every time the team started to kind of like stumble or find a bad bit of form or question, like they clearly, like they would run into a side that just sort of solved them, stymied them, made them feel like not good enough for the league, then an MLS 2 team would come in, like right. We'd play Atlanta United 2 and like just kick the living shit out of them. And the thing is, like if you don't know like football, if you just kind of know, like if you like watch tricks videos and that's it, you'd watch those kids play and be like, they look awesome. But then you watch them arrayed in space, you're like, oh, they're like they're just young, they're little, they're making these dumb mistakes, they're overrunning things, like we're just clowning them. And we didn't get those like kind of constant uppers last year, and it just even though we had a little more talent than we had the first year, it just ground them down. And like we had like we had always scored a lot of goals just from being dominant. Like we were never much of a goal scoring team under Trevor. The emphasis was always on structure and like mentality and being like hyper focused and hyper aware of how to cover. And I think we're going to see kind of a different thing, this year. And I think it's largely in response to what we saw last year, which is that the offense sort of just stopped existing for like a middle third of the season there, the beginning half, where we just sort of didn't score a goal for weeks. And fell
almost 2 months,
fell down to the bottom of the table in a way that Detroit City has never ever done in their history in any incarnation. Even the women's teams have not had great records, but what we mean by that is they've been mid-table sometimes, like bottom of the table. Like no sir, we have never done that. But now you live and you learn. We have done that now. And, I think that it's in reaction to, it all crumbling last year, effectively, which is how it looked to me. And I think how I described it kind of in real time in my like game stories, which is like, these guys have lost it. Like, oh dear. I'm panicked. Let me just warn you, folks, if you decide to read the things I've written and you haven't before, be prepared for someone who talks about their anxiety a lot. Because City makes me anxious.
Same here. And it hits a level that when you see it, you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
Yeah. So I mean, this year I think I went to see the friendly on Friday, the last preseason friendly.
Good segue, Sean.
Yeah,
and it looked different, but with a lot of the same players, but the vibe was very different.
4-2 winner in that friendly over Oakland.
Right. How do you want me to go into that now?
If you want to. I really want to get your thoughts on what you saw in that, and from just by what you're seeing, maybe somebody of this new crop of players that we brought on that people should have their eye on.
I mean, for me, I know I can feel in my heart that Trevor would like to be on the sideline still, but he's not exactly pouring water on the idea that this was a good idea with the crop of people he's brought in this year. Like, these guys look pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
Elvis Amo is legit. Now, he's not a long-term solution. I think the dude's like 31. So, but he's an experienced pro who had to kind of fight his way out of to get to America. Like, he didn't come here until he was like 26, 27. And, so he doesn't have a ton of wear on the tires. You know what I'm saying? He's not a 31-year-old who's played like 42 matches a season for the last decade. And he looks good. Like, he's tall, elegant striker, quick, thinks ahead of the play well, combines well. I mean, just kind of like a five-tool player in baseball,
Somebody who can create his chances as well as receive them.
Right. Yeah. Now, he's not wickedly he's quick and fast, and has good size, but he's not like explosively fast. He's not going to create you're not going to create enough space to get a shot off that often. He moves well. He thinks ahead of the play. The second goal for City? He created it. Basically, Ali Coote, who's another very exciting player. I'll get back to him in a second. Ali Coote won the ball in the attacking third, and basically won it with a touch. Second touch got it to Elvis, and Elvis upped the tempo by first touch like angling it into Maxey, who like in the moment looked for a second like he was like he was not almost kind of startled by how alertly Elvis played the ball to him, but he recovered in time to finish it top end. So it was the kind of goal that coaches show teams and say, see, this is what pros are. Like, this goal appeared in their minds the moment Ali won the ball, and it took a second and a half for it to manifest in the physical realm, but it's the fact that they imagined it that quickly that makes them the players they are. It was great. Elvis also got like 2 goals in the second half to kind of put it away. Really, they were good goals. Like good movement, a little cross from Matt Sheldon. I keep wanting to call him Ryan Sheldon. Matt Sheldon.
He sounds so familiar to our other Ryan we just had last year.
Yeah, and it was they looked sharp and focused in the second half. The first half, is the part that anxious me will dwell on. I'm standing 30 feet from the guys as they're as Stevie's going, let's get a quick start. Let's get out there, be focused. And everybody's like, fuck yes, let's go. And 45 seconds later, Oakland, with their first touch of the ball, counterattacks and scores. They were not ready. Do you think they underestimated? Maybe Oakland? I think they were. It was the first time Oakland, I think City kind of piled forward with the ball and got a lot of guys forward and got countered on 2-on-2, and I think they just expected it to be a nothing. These kids. But no, it was, a clean counter. They came down the left and centered it and scored really easily, embarrassingly easily. And, it was not a great start.
And that's not something that City fans are used to also, given how good the defense has been.
Right.
During the Trevor James era, especially. So.
I
get the anxiety there.
It hasn't it hasn't, but it's also like, this is one of those things that, like, as an older person, which I am, it's hard to get upset about anything, really. It's like, it happens. I find
That's how you respond.
That's
how you respond to that.
Right.
No, I can relate, because when I was younger and like the Red Wings would, lose a playoff game or something like that, I was a recluse. Basket case.
Mm-hmm.
World was ending.
IU
so
basketball. I would go in the bedroom, just like sit quietly.
Yep.
Yeah.
The guys are familiar in the defense, and they're proven. They've done well in the past. I don't think they've suddenly lost it. I do think that the league has gotten shut out by us a lot. And so we've occupied a lot of mind share. Like, how do we break these guys down? Really, the back three, I think, have been the focus of intense scrutiny. And here's the outcome that I think, looking at what the league did to us down the stretch, I think the conclusion they've drawn is just go away from Devin. Like, Devin's not going to lose duels, so go the other side. And, when Matt was there, you just good luck with Matt. But ideally what you want to do is get us a little spread out and run hard right at Stevie, right down the middle. Like, attack our least physical defender with your most physical attacker. And that has paid dividends. That has worked quite often. And that's what worries me. Now, it looks like this year we're going to go with a 4-man back line. So there is no one central defender. Stevie will be playing in the right channel, kind of. And he'll have a lot more midfield cover in any potential formation than he generally did as in a 3, where he was, often 15 yards from anybody. I mean, so far it makes sense to me that you would make this change, and especially as we're going to talk about later, down a defender. So, suddenly.
Sure. Yeah. And in particular, not just Elvisamo, but even like Alex, like I said, Matt Sheldon. You talked about Matt Sheldon. You talked about Alex Villanueva.
Really important, because. Okay, so what you're here's like my squad building nerd shit that I'm gonna cover you in, but so you've got Brett Levi's there, and Brett is if you look at Brett's underlying numbers, he is an unbelievable chance creator per minute.
Heat chart out of this world. Very
few minutes. He is as fragile like shaving cream is fragile. Just sit him out and leave him, and he'll dissolve.
Hurt his first game playing at Keyworth with Tulsa last May.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong. It's not down to any lack of work or anything like that. Some guys have durable bodies, some guys don't. A lot of those guys get washed out, before they become pros, and some don't. And Brad is one of those. So you need, in that situation, ideally you want that guy to be available to come on in the 70th minute if you need to change things. But you don't want him to have to just carry minutes. You don't want him to have to go 2,000 minutes this year. So bringing in a kid who's 20 and has shown some upside, but needs a lot of growth and needs a lot of minutes is absolutely what you're looking for. That is what you're not looking for a 25-year-old, really, because they're going to want more money, and they're more prone to getting broke down again. You don't want anybody, you want a kid who's elastic and will just rubber band his ass around there for 3,000 freaking minutes.
Right.
And Levi can make 15 appearances and get 7 assists, and that is a fantastic bit of business. James Murphy, very important.
Oh, yeah.
I think in a little I was I was busy at work and sick when a lot of these signings were happening, so I didn't do the kind of coverage I usually do, where I explain where this player is in their career and what this likely means for the makeup of the blah, 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 so I didn't do any of that publicly, but of course I still have those thoughts, and here you go. James, I think we slept on him a little bit in terms of the hype around the announcement, because I think he's a starter. I think he's been brought in to play as many minutes as his body will let him.
Right.
He's been very good in exactly the role that we're asking him to play. We're not asking him to, imagine a new self or whatever. We just hired him to do what he's done before, and he's been good at it. So
seems like he has a bit of an edge to him too.
Huh?
He's got some spark. He's got a little bite. He'll start some shit. He'll finish some shit. I think that that is always we are primates, we establish dominance in certain ways. That's not going to change, I don't think. I mean, unless a memo I missed somewhere about humanity, we're going to keep, trying to establish dominance on each other. And so you need people, just like you do in any sport. You need a guy who, can look people in the eye and make them think, maybe this is a bad idea. And we don't have a lot of shrieking violets on the team. It's, well, as I'm kind of thinking through, basically there's two types of dudes for Detroit City. There's guys who would love to get some shit going, and there's guys who, will just walk away, but out of some sort of personal preference. There's no one fearful on the roster.
It always seemed like Reese kind of got in a little bit of a mood sometimes last season. Where you'd always have to be calm down a little bit, Reese. We don't want.
He got a little more aggressive. We don't want to.
Yeah, him, Mikey Bryan, and then obviously we lost a little bit of that spiciness too when Antoine went to Hartford. But
Antoine, we do Maxi's not fighty at all, but he will invest in the dark arts to kill a game.
He's hella competitive.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that shit. I love shit housing and just the kind of mind games aspect of when my friends and I play board games, there's an immense amount of shit talking and psychological maneuvering happening. And so, that makes sense that's, of course you're doing that when you're playing this, kind of large physical board game. It's a fascinating part of the game. I think that James will add to that nicely. Let's see, who else is new? We talked about Matt. We didn't really talk about Matt Sheldon. I'll tell you what, if you want to know about Matt Sheldon, look at his YouTube channel. He's got a great YouTube channel called Become Elite.
We gave him so much shit.
It's really good. It's not, he's not breaking any molds, right? It's got there's content like that, right? But he's doing it. It's real. It's not like James Somerton stuff. So,
very well produced, though. Very well produced.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's clean. It reminds me a little bit of Hobby's vlog. Same kind of production value. Yeah. Really clean. Lots of the interstitial music was, good choices from that really tiny pool of rights-free music that's out there. It's good. What the hell were we talking about?
You were talking about Matt Sheldon and his
Matt Sheldon. Matt. The thing about, like, Matt is another, like, just like James. This is our new policy. Like, we are refusing to reinvent the wheel. Like, we needed a right wing back, and so we found one. Like, now again, Matt's at 30 or 31. He's not going to forever, solution, but nobody is. Like, we're all going to die. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I hate to tell you this, but everyone listening to this is mortal. I'm sorry. If you're not, like, hit me up. I'd like to hear that story.
Yeah. But he's versatile, though. Seems like he can play wing back. Seems like he can play center back. Seems like he can play midfield too.
He could play. I think. I'm not sold on him playing center back and like center back. Like, he could play right center back in a three. I think no big deal. Yeah. Sure. Could he go in for Stevie? Like, I'd almost rather have Dom Gasso in there. Because I know Dom can handle the physical part of the game.
Right.
And that's something we'll get to later. But I think that effectively with Matt, leaving the game, I think that effectively Dom Gasso is the fourth center back now. I'm sure he's competing with Ryan for that, and a lot of it will come down to, like, how everyone else plays, is Reese going, like, wild in training? So, well, okay, Reese is the wing back, and now we're trying to find minutes for Matt Sheldon. Or is it the other way around? Is Matt Sheldon ball out of control, and now Reese is like an attacking sub, and where are we going to get minutes for all these guys? That's kind of a new problem that City's not had to face. Like, where do we get enough minutes to keep guys sharp? Like, the problem has been, like, how do we keep these guys' legs from falling off before the season?
Right.
So it's these are good problems to have.
Absolutely.
Ryan Williams seems like somebody that could be a versatile role. So I'm thinking in particular, there's three that really strike my mind as potentials. A young one, Daniel Espeleta, who's gone from trialist to signee to someone who seems to be having a big impact. Yeah. Carlos Saldana, who seems to be like a second keeper who I think will get a handful of games, more so than maybe what we've seen in the last couple of years. Maybe not since Armando Quezada, the new goalkeeping coach for Las Vegas Lights, as of this last week. And
congrats, Armando.
Yeah, congrats, Armando. Really cool dude. I'm really
great.
happy to see what he does in Vegas. And then lastly, you've mentioned him briefly, but somebody else I think we're excited to see. Scotsman, who last played at Bohemians in Dublin, Ireland, Ali Coote.
Ali Coote, first of all, I think Ali Coote's got to hook up with Detroit Celtic, right? Like, anyway.
Seems like the talks have already been connected on that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
and somebody who vastly underestimated winter March in Detroit. So
I heard he showed up in, like, trackies.
He showed up in a tracksuit, yes, and because it was him yesterday, the St. Patrick's Day parade. He showed up in a tracksuit. James Murphy, Stephen Stephen Carroll had, they had full on jackets on and everything.
Stephen had a flat on too. He had an Ivy cap.
Yeah, and we're wondering, like, we're almost getting ready to go. We're like, where did Allie go? And it turns out he had to find Tiffany to get a coat and then come back because he didn't bring a coat. Don't know what he was thinking. It must have been one of those things, again, underestimating March in Detroit. Yeah. But yeah, he had to go, find Tiffany to get a coat and then bring it back so he could continue, marching in the parade. But sorry, Sean, go ahead.
He's probably like, it was warm last week, so that must as I understand it, other places in the globe, it doesn't just switch back and forth between winter and spring like 4 or 5 times before getting on with it.
32 in the UK is different than 32 in the Michigan.
32 in Michigan with 32 mile per hour wind gusts. So, lesson learned, Allie.
So Ali Coote is, he again is a guy that he's in the prime of his career. I don't know, is it 26, 25, 26? He's not an old guy who has been pretty great for Bohemians, but they seem to be kind of maybe moving. I think maybe they had like a young guy they had signed who was kind of taking minutes from him. So he was
interesting enough, though, Sean. They just moved on from their head coach. I don't know if you saw that or not. Yeah, was it Declan Devine or something like that? I just actually saw the other day.
No, I didn't see the buzz. Really?
That they have moved on from him.
Huh.
I don't know, Garrett. If you want to bring it up, Garrett.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now because Bohemians also have my favorite away kit right now. One, because I love Thin Lizzy, and two, I love the concept of their kit sales going towards music.
We're not talking kits right now, Garrett.
Oh, we might though. That's for our other side.
Like, push the buzzer.
Yesterday.
He's going to keep talking about kits. You got to push the buzzer.
Declan Devine yesterday parted ways with Bohemian.
Yep.
So Ali Koot is an attacker who I think has generally played as an inside right for Bohemians. He looks like he's going to play as an inside left for us. And he is a clever, quick attacker who looks to carry the ball forward with his first touch, like, relentlessly. He's a smart guy. Looks like a good athlete. Was able to grind for all of his 70 minutes or whatever against Oakland without too much trouble. I think he's going to be an exciting player. Given what I've seen in the past, it doesn't require like fantasy to imagine Ali Koot. You can look up videos and go, okay, yeah, so he's probably going to do that. Daniel Espeleta was, to me, kind of the revelation of that, of the group that came on late in the match. I knew that he was a guy who'd been a trialist forever, although I think his last club was like in Costa Rica, maybe.
Yeah.
And
yep.
A lot of times, like, it could be that like it took that long to sign him. When like getting ITCs from Central American clubs is notoriously slow.
Right.
So I'm imagining that after a week of trading, they were like, okay, it wasn't like we were sitting there going for 4 weeks. He looked very good.
And there were some good players in training too that they had on as other trialists.
Yeah.
Even Danny Dicchio from his other gigs knew. And beat them for that job.
Yeah, I was a little surprised when the guy whose name begins with a Z.
Zeko Lewis.
Yes, Zeko Lewis was a guy that when I realized he was a free agent and that Danny was coming here, I kind of assumed we'd sign him. Like, honestly, I was like,
same.
Yeah.
Him and Carlos.
But he came in and went back out. Now, I have no insight into whether that was his demands were crazy. It's probably his last deal, so he's trying to get paid USL, which is always pretty tenuous. Or they felt like they had better options in the guys that we've already talked about. Ryan Williams is the guy that I know least about. I know he has had a long career, but it's at a slightly lower level than the other dudes. I have a feeling he is the midfielder who's brought in, who at the end of the season we're like, right, yes, he was on the team. Now, I could be wrong about that.
Right.
He could really strike a dead ball, like, incredible dead ball striker. And if that becomes like, if we have offensive trouble, then suddenly that skill of his becomes a lot more valuable because we got to score goals somehow.
So he could possibly be the Vincenzo Candela of last year.
He could
be. What you're saying?
Yeah, I think Vincenzo was so much that player that from now on it is just the Vincenzo. He'll be this year's Vincenzo.
The year before that was Maki Jop, and now this year was fucking Vincenzo.
Oh wow!
I think that Mackey's the best representation of that Vincenzo role in 22-2.
I think in all fairness, though, Mackey got traded here, mid-season?
And then he got hurt.
He got
right,
hurt,
yeah. He was just kind of never healthy.
Yeah.
Carlos Saldana, how much do you think he'll take appearance-wise, both in USL Championship and Open Cup?
I mean, to me, if he's starting USL Championship matches and Nate hasn't had a complete meltdown, I'm got questions. Because he looks fine, but nothing about the way he presents himself in a pre-match warm-up, at least, says to me, this is the guy. Oh, Nate's in trouble. This guy's here to be number one. No, he's a keeper. He's fine.
Yeah.
And I think that, I'm trying to think how to say this. There is a small pool, a limited market, let's say, of people who are willing to practice every day without much hope of playing.
Right.
And that's the role. You come in.
It's a tough role too.
It's a tough role. You come in, back up Nate. That unless he's hurt, you're probably chilling.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. I think he might get cup matches, but even those, how many cup matches do we have now, right?
Maybe one, depending on how it goes.
Right. And so we're not going to, I guess maybe we start Carlos against, whatever lower league team we get hooked up with before we advance. Well, I guess we would actually play a championship team the next week. I think there's two rounds after we come in before MLS comes in.
He's going to be starting opposite McGruva in that open cup match.
Oh my God, if that happens.
Yeah. I mean,
it'll be his and Danny's first experience against the Stars. So I am excited to see that happen. We have also warned Danny as well too. We talked with him before the season started, and we warned him about if that was potentially to happen. So
I mean, I am a big Tatinda Makruva fan. I'm gonna come out there and say that.
Great goalie.
He's a great goalie. He, the world is a drab and sad place so often. Why not have a goalie who's flamboyant and fantastic? And he is.
Starter.
He's an absolute shithousing machine. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say real quick. I think he's too good for where he's playing at right now.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think he should be playing in a real professional league somewhere.
Yes.
And
on a real professional team.
I'm going to make a confession right now about my personal life, but in my Detroit City Football Manager save, he is the starting keeper. I brought him in and he won it. It was and
God, that is quite the revelation. Wow.
Sorry.
I'm glad. I'm glad that it's. I'm glad it's on this first episode of.
Makes sense. We had Dario here last year. I mean, we got rid of that old grudging feeling with that last season. I mean, McCruva maybe down the line. You never know.
I would. What I would give to see a City keeper start wasting time in the 38th minute up one goal. That is so chef's kiss. The decisions he makes are so bizarre and so amazing.
Or run up to take a penalty.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, argue with your striker.
Oh God. Oh man. We opened the season up Saturday in the fucking Rocky Mountains, which is I looked at the forecast. Colorado Springs is a high of 42 degrees on Saturday with a low of 24. So it's probably going to be about mid 30s, maybe lower 30s at 8 o'clock Eastern on Saturday night.
Dress warm, Allie.
Yeah.
Well,
gloves.
Fortunately, our boys are acclimated already, except for the whole, like altitude thing.
Colorado Springs opened the season up this weekend, a 2-0 loss to Miami FC, or the Miami FC, even though the stadium looked about as empty as my bank account.
Wow.
Mine as well. Go ahead.
I've only seen.
We're gonna have a wobbly meeting after this.
Hey, I'm all for it.
The notes about the match in particular: 2-0 Miami win over Colorado Springs. A friend of the podcast, Ken Butcher, who was watching the game live on Saturday, mentioned that Colorado seemed to be a team that was getting in and holding up, but nobody was connecting on runs, disjointed set pieces. However, as like match day 1, they could be making a bunch of adjustments, like teams there. Colorado Springs does have some players that can cause damage. Rolando Damas, up top striker. My first exposure to him was the USL Championship final in 2021 for Orange County, when he single-handedly tore apart the best team in the league and scored 2 goals. And it was a 3-1. It was a 3-1 or 4-1 win, but still was an impressive thing. Last year at San.
Yeah, he's he's one of those guys who has a huge amplitude in his performances. You know, when he's on, he can be so on that he can, he can just be unplayable. But he
seemed to be off of his edge on Saturday, apparently, a bit more physical than usual.
The Colorado, I think, is one of the top 3 in payroll in USL Championship.
Sounds about right.
And they always have a lot of talent. And we've always kind of done well against them. But I think that it may have been down to our earlier orientation to like snuff out play as our first goal. They just found that so baffling that they would they didn't know what to do with us. I worry that the way we're planning to play this year is a bit more open and will be will be exploitable in some way by the Colorado Springs looked really disjointed, as I understand it.
A lot of individual chances, but they weren't clicking as a team.
Right, and so let's assume that they didn't just have like a week of like mind melding, that there's still some problems with like knowing each other's games, and that they need to grow together a little more. Right. We don't know what we're looking at from City. We don't know how much of that City are going to suffer from. What we do know is that, in a broken game, it's usually the individuals that make it happen, and this is likely to be an early season broken game, and that worries me.
Plenty of space by the looks of it, as Colorado Springs likes to go high. They, like you mentioned, City going to the counter,
right? And that the way City are setting up, they are occasionally like they do have a variety in the game. They're not always trying to counter. They're not always looking to set up and keep the ball. And there's a lot of intelligent players on the field. Like, I think that they will find ways to make something happen. I just, I'm glad I'm not a person who bets.
Quick note: in Elvis's return to Colorado Springs last season with Hartford, he did get their lone goal.
Pretty nice goal, I believe. There. He only scored 5 last year in an injury-ridden season, so glad that 20% of his output came against his former team.
It's entirely possible by the end of the season we're like, that's the best striker we've ever had.
Yeah.
It's also possible that 10 games into the season we're like, damn, who are we going to get?
Yeah.
We don't know. That's what makes this so fun.
2 other players, in my opinion, that you want to look at on the attacking end for Colorado Springs. Juan Tejada, who has been known in prior years playing with Tampa Bay Rowdies, and I think all last year with India 11.
Yep.
Malik Foster, somebody who might have terrorized us with Sacramento Republic in 2022, along with Mr. New coach Danny Dicchio. He did hit the post on Saturday. Duke LaCroix, left back for Springs, was bombing forward, but also because he was bombing over, he was going in. So if that's Ben Morris running at him,
yep, that's Ben.
That's a good matchup on there. So we'll know obviously a lot about what we're coming to expect with this team Saturday night. It's still a long season. It goes till October 26th. When that's said and done, do you see this Detroit City team finishing higher than where they have the last 2 years or lower? If they're higher, where do you see them at come end of the season?
Yeah, I think that, fourth or fifth in the East is the most likely band for them. We'll kind of be right on that break of like hosting a playoff game or not.
Top four host playoffs. Yep.
Right. I think that, and I think that's you'd like to imagine taking a great leap, but those things are pretty rare, and you do, I think, in my view, I think a lot of times you do see it coming a little bit, because like it's usually you've got one or two players that are going to add like a totally different aspect to your entire way of playing. I don't know that we did that I think that what happened this offseason was an infusion of like plus competence in every position where they added players. There nobody is a project or like maybe like depth for the future. We didn't sign any of that.
Right.
We signed players that can play right now and depth for right now. I think it's been great. I don't think we're gonna, storm the league and shock people. Now, that is where a great manager shows himself, right?
Right.
Like, great managers find a way to draw performances out of players and find a way to put players' best attributes in the spotlight. And so we don't know what Danny Dicchio has, and so it's possible that we're going to see something way better, right?
Yeah.
And if we do, I think that, to me, that would be an indication that Danny Dicchio's pretty special, and that we need to get ready to replace him.
Yeah, man. Three things to get ready to run here. Matty Lewis, stalwart at this club for the last handful of years. The person who scored the first ever professional goal for Detroit City on February 28th, I believe, 2020 at LA Forest, first of two goals. Yes. Roddy Green, son of our Tunnel Talk co-host and often butt of my jokes, Roddy Green on that. Somebody that's been a rock part of the expeditionary team of Lewis and Carroll, and just an all-around good dude. Announced his retirement from professional football today. So that, want to get your thoughts on that. Also, the TV deal, the local TV deal announced by Detroit City today, CBS, Detroit, WWJ, and TV50, WKBD, all games home and away for the men, including free access for streaming and all of the women's games streaming. And your thoughts on the kits, because that's a hot topic after this weekend.
I'm going to go in reverse.
All right.
So the kits, I'm not one of those people who is like a kit aficionado. Like I don't sit around and reminisce about kits. They look like kits.
We are.
Oh, I know you are. They look like kits to me. Like, it's fine. I don't. There's, I saw Poor Things the other night, and I am not I'm telling you, I'm sort of clothes blind. I don't typically decode what someone's trying to tell me in their clothing, but it was very clear early in that movie that was a thing you should be doing in that movie, and it really made me feel like I was, seeing flavors or something. Like they were like I was having a synesthesia feeling because it's just not an experience I have. So, maybe there's hope for me yet. Maybe I'll start seeing kids. They look fine. I was not like, sadly, the black kit, while it looks cool, does not look nearly as cool as the previous black kit we did, which is black with all black and gold.
Our 2019 third kit. Yep.
Yes.
Agreed.
Which I think is the best City kit ever. Like if you wear that, you could wear that anywhere, and people would be like, "That looks fucking great." So the kits are fine. I was I think the chevron is not something you see real often in the United States. So I think it's cool to bring some of these like traditional international flavors into the kit thing. That's cool. We've done it before, and I think it's good. And I hope they sell and that the club makes a bunch of money. And yay. What was the middle thing? It was
TV.
The TV deal, which is probably the biggest news of all of it, potentially. I assume this is Alex Wright's kind of,
magnum opus,
like moment, his close up, because this is a really great deal. Like the fact that it's not just home anything, that it's men and women, and the free streaming all across the state, really like that is
it's next level.
Yeah,
that's under 30, right? Like there's not a bunch of 50-year-olds who are like, I want to stream this to my phone. I do. But, I'm kind of a nerd. Like, my cohort are starting to get into that, like, tapping uselessly at things, going, why doesn't this work age? So, that's going to appeal to the demographic that they need to appeal to.
Right.
And over the air, who knows who you get from that? Like, the great appeal of over the air is its, kind of democratic nature. Set up an antenna and watch it. I don't know whether the people who that would especially reach, that it needs to reach, are going to know about it, unfortunately. So that's the next phase of the club's challenge, is like, hey, here's how to tune in and watch this. We love you. Come hang out with us.
It's gonna be easier to promote, though, from that aspect.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that the club is suddenly in a like a shockingly difficult sponsorship situation because the Lions are so successful. Suddenly, right. They've kind of sucked all the oxygen out of the room, and when you're trying to sell a standard package where it's got you're getting signage and you're getting blah, blah, blah. And they're like, this is something that Sean Mann said to me the other day. He's like, and we're competing against. They're like, well, but we could get a suite at the Lions game, and every single person we're wooing in any business deal is going to like shit themselves to get those tickets. So, sad face, like, and like, yeah, okay. I hadn't thought about the fact that the Lions could just suck all the money out of the entire city. But they are right now. So that's great.
So we need the Lions to suck again.
But this is a way to like, but the thing, like it's fine. Like the great thing is that the players are into City, and there's a lot of like back and forth between the two organizations at that level, at like the actual athlete level, in a way that I think is going to be nothing but positive for both, but mostly for us. Let's be honest. Sure. And this this broadcast deal is as fulsome and democratic as you can imagine a broadcast deal being in this day and age. Like I mean, I really am flabbergasted by what an amazing buy-in Alex has gotten from people at CBS to make this a reality. Like, wow, okay.
I'll bring up a quote that Brian Watson, general manager of CBS Detroit, brought in the club's announcement about the TV deal. And that is, we are looking forward to this partnership with Detroit City Football Club, ensuring that all games will be readily accessible to our viewers and dedicated fans both on air and through streaming. Together, we're committed to bringing the excitement of each match directly into the homes and hearts of Detroit sports enthusiasts.
I mean, yeah. I'm not going to talk about the fact that that's boilerplate. It is, but it's cool, and I'm glad City got this deal. It's a big freaking deal, especially when you're like, we are in the middle of a soccer war in the United States again. I don't know if people are aware of this.
Oh yeah.
But right now, Oakland Roots have been working to develop a large practice facility in the city. And it suddenly got installed in their city council. And the other shoe fell this week, which is a former, executive level officer for Oakland Roots is leading, Benny Nagel, if you guys know who he is leading an MLS Next Pro thing in Oakland called The Town. And what do you know? They're looking at maybe that practice area that has been mysteriously held up for weeks and weeks for no reason in city council. And the same thing happened in San Diego, right?
Orange County a couple years ago with LA Galaxy too.
But this is, right. But the city council meeting was the first warning we had there, and here it is again. So we used to when we were in NPSL and when we were trying to start our own league, and insurance mysteriously wouldn't insure us, even though they insured every business ever. And then we built our own league, and then we then we went into NISA. That whole time, we like to talk about how the perfidy of USL in the way they used sort of the prospect of being edged out of your own territory by territory rights if you were the second mover, and manipulative shit like that to break down community clubs and pull them into the USL nexus. And now they're having it done to them. You're going to have to up your subterfuge game, USL. You need to start buying off governments. You need to start it's awful. So what that means to us and as Detroit City fans is that if we're ever going to be a healthy soccer club, the way is through developing our own players and making a pathway to the first team that allows us to give those players something they couldn't get elsewhere, and allows us to have stability and control over the market that we're in. So that's why the TV deal is a big deal to me, long term.
Matty Lewis.
So I gave you 18 minutes and you needed 45 seconds.
No, you're good on
hey,
that.
The aristocrats.
We're using some dialogue. You're still not as long as some of our others. Cough, red, total talk.
And Matt Lewis, came here on loan from the Cosmos. The Cosmos were a going thing when Matt Lewis played for them. So in some ways, kind of a really interesting jaunt through American soccer history for him in his career. And I'm really glad that the real estate thing seems to be it seemed like it was going well. And I think this kind of confirms that he's feeling able to say, I'm gonna leave this money on the table. I'm gonna go be there for this family emergency situation that has come up.
Right.
And good for him. if it was almost anyone else, we'd be talking about the fact that like this means we're down to 4 center backs, 5 days before the first match or whatever. But it's Matty. It's like he's earned it. He's earned his right to exit and on his own terms and still be honored by us and I hope he if he's not in town anymore, I have no idea. He was there on Friday and I didn't say hi, and I feel like a complete idiot now. I think we'll give him a proper farewell. When we all get together at Keyworth, if he's here. If not, then we'll wave to the cameras. And tell him we love him because we do. He's great. He's
absolutely.
Like, I'm trying to think of how to describe him without breaking his privacy and without like sounding like an asshole.
I think
this is what the children would call cringe. I'm sure, right? But like Matt is straightforward, thoughtful, like kind, earnest. He will run right through you to win like a thing, but he'll as soon as the moment is over, he'll help back up and have a little laugh about it. Like he's a guy who you could see had worked and honed his craft of defending by the time he got to us. His ability to pick a perfect angle, like depending on how beaten he is. Like you can see a guy like just beat him clean, and you're like he's fucked, and he would just in that moment like compute the little triangle he needed to complete, like and like pick that perfect angle that somehow, despite being nowhere near as quick as this dude, and who's just beaten him and left him flat-footed, he arrived like before the shot comes off. He's back there and like blocking it. Like the number of times I've seen the man do that, like literally hundreds, maybe thousands of times, like so many times. Like I don't know, just want to, Matt, if you're done playing, you were a great player, and thanks for being with us.
Somebody that gave everything for this club, and whenever he wore the shirt, and an even better person to chat with. And he's wherever he winds up doing, wherever that's at, that man's going to succeed in life.
Like, describe a guy as a fighter and not mean that he's a dick. That's something, because those two go along together really very often, and they do not in Matt Lewis.
So Matt Lewis, in my opinion, you're the next one that's getting the velvet painting. So thank you for everything. I'm sure this won't be the last time we'll see or chat with the guy. All the best right now and moving forward to him on there. And with that, we've made City Make Spence. Believe me, folks, you got a lot. It's not going to be the last time on here. Sean, for anyone, where can let everyone know where can they check you out on social and where can they find Words About Shapes?
Online, I am almost universally under the name Shield Chafing, which is a dude mentioned in the first few lines of Beowulf and Never Again. It's SCYLD SCEAFING at whatever. Or at that think that's me. My blog, which is it's a web log. It is a written text thing that I think is going to be very popular one day.
I think so.
It appears on Patreon. It is called Words About Shapes, and I put words in there sometimes about shapes.
We'll make sure that we put a link and everything to that in the show notes. So
yeah, so that will be in the show bio as well as in those that are checking out the YouTube episode too.
Cool.
It'll be in the description of that as well. There is both, just not only the paid but also occasional free content. But either way, you should be subscribing to this because it is, in my opinion, your gateway to really get understanding and getting into Detroit, all things Detroit City.
First one's free.
Hell yeah. And then I'll end this with you with a personal, because Adam and I talked about our European soccer club. I know you have a love for Liverpool Football Club, so a simple question: Liverpool, does Liverpool win the Premier League this season? Yes or no?
No.
Oh, who wins it then?
Manchester City.
Oh. Sorry, Adam. You're going to fuck up again. I say that as a Crystal Palace fan who lost to a fucking equalizer in the 95th minute on Saturday. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. One day we will there will be a sort of truth and reconciliation commission for all things in this age of corruption, and Manchester City's titles will be taken from them. But until that day, they are an all-conquering colossus, and we can only gape in amazement.
I'm sure if Alan Jacobson, our fellow 451 person, saw this, he probably would send me a text and says, "Hey, here's a message to all of you. Fuck off." So, Sean, my friend, brother from another mother, thank you for this.
Absolutely.
This is not going to be the last time. Stay tuned for all of that. Detroit City folks on here. In Molding World, there's some special shit coming out. But in the meantime, that's the end of the first period here. We're taking an intermission. Period 2, we're gonna talk about the Red Wings and why my face is baby faced. So we'll be back.
We'll see ya.
Tonight's version of the Detroit City Sportscast. Shout out to our dear friend and brother Sean Spence for City Make Spence and covering everything there is about this Detroit City preview and all, especially what's taking place here. Big season for the men, and we need to make light also mention too, because the women who are crushing it in PASL play. Big game this Saturday in Cincinnati.
I'm looking forward to having Spence on, because that was a good discussion with him, and I know he probably doesn't like to hear it. He doesn't. He doesn't like to hear the praise. I'm sure it probably makes him uncomfortable. But I'm serious when I say this. That I like, even in our own like chats, like on Discord and everything. Like when you see like Sean like typing shit,
magic's about to happen.
Yeah, you get tuned in because something something is gonna he's gonna drop some type of like, I don't say like opinion, but like take, like some like city take. And it's great. And I think, we always talk about like City being, fortunate when it comes to the support that they have, and, the content that supporters put out there, and, so on and so forth. They're fortunate to have a guy like Spence, to kind of, kind of convey all that information. And so it's cool to talk to him. It's cool that he's going to be doing this with us. And I'm really looking forward to, having this, this go on with him. So,
yeah. So we were talking about many of the things that were bringing us joy. Now we need to, unfortunately, talk about the things that have been bringing us pain for the last couple of weeks, shifting from Detroit City, where we left off.
I'm sure City will be bringing us some pain at some point in the season.
We'll be there. Some people are experiencing pain. Some of them are experiencing pain from the kit review over the weekend. Stay tuned.
We got some pain. We got some pain today with Matty Lewis announcing his retirement.
Right. 2 weeks ago, when we had last recorded, the Detroit Red Wings had then had ripped off 5 consecutive wins in a row. Calgary and Seattle on the road, the Avalanche and the Blues at home, the Blackhawks on the road. Former Wing and former Blackhawk captain Chris Chelios getting his number raised to the Raptors. Patrick Kane in his first game back to Chicago, getting the game winner in overtime. Picturesque stuff. The next night, I went to LCA to watch the Red Wings smash the Capitals 8-3. An absolutely fun, thrilling game. Then on Thursday at noon, the Wings announced their first sponsor for the patch on sponsorship on their uniform. Adam, what was the name of the organization that is the new uniform sponsor on the front of the Red Wings jerseys?
Trash company that's fucking up our season. Is that what they're called? Priority Waste. Is that what the full name of it is?
Yeah. So Priority Waste. I think it's Priority Waste Management. I'm going to confirm to be exact here.
Waste Management. Yeah.
Let's see. Priority Waste Michigan. Long story short, fair play to them for the logo, for not at least blending in with the Red Wings colors. And the one thing I do like is that the Red Wings C and A's are back on the left side, as I think they should be, as least from what I grew up to it. But unfortunately, that's the only good thing that's really come of this last run, because the Wings ended their 6-game winning streak later on that night, losing at home to the New York Islanders, despite coming back from both 2 goals down and 1 goal down in the third period. 2 days later, took on the Florida Panthers, who absolutely manhandled the ever-living shit out of us on our ice, 4-0. And in my opinion, if the Panthers continue to play like that throughout the playoffs, they're going to be the ones hoisting the Stanley Cup come summertime. Unfortunately, that wasn't the only damage from that game. Dylan Larkin suffered an injury after that and was announced out for a couple weeks. Wednesday night, the team traveled to the Colorado to take on the Avalanche. Jumped out to a 1-0 and 2-1 leads, 2-2 after the first period, and then the joy stopped. 7-2 the final in favor of the Avalanche. I thought that was going to be the most painful thing of this run. No. We went to Mullet Arena, right, in Tempe, Arizona, where Arizona State played, which is also the current home of the Coyotes, who had lost 16 of their last 18. We played Alex Lyon in net as opposed to James Reimer, because I thought, we'd play Lyon the next night in Vegas. Wouldn't have mattered. We lost 4-0. 3 goals allowed in the first period. Then the next night, we traveled to defend the Stanley Cup champs, the Vegas Golden Knights. I went and watched the Port Huron Prowlers with family earlier in the evening, a tough, scrappy hockey game. Old-time hockey, as those that watch Slapshot would say. Those that love Shoresy, the American version of Shoresy, the professional version of that. When I had parked the car, our dear friend Nick Finn was getting excited because the Winds had tied the game up at 3. Except they let in a 4th and then an empty net 5th. 5-3 the final in Vegas. 5 straight losses for the Wings. And as you can see, being that my playoff beard, when you lose all those games in a row, you're eliminated from the playoffs, my face is now reset. You motherfuckers. What does this mean now, this rough run of form for the Red Wings in the standings? Going to the standings right now, as of this evening, the Red Wings are now in a tough situation where, if I'm looking correctly here, the New York Islanders have won their 6th consecutive game tonight and have played 1 game less than us. So what that means is we are tied for the last wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. I'm trying to decide if the tiebreaker is going to go to the Islanders for having played less games. Adam, if you want to pop to NHL.com and take a look at the Eastern standings, if it's going to go to the Islanders for having as many points in 1 less game, or to the Red Wings because they have more regulation and overtime wins. But losers of our last 5, in a situation now where we are 2 points behind Tampa, for the first wild card spot, level on points with the Islanders for the last, 3 points ahead of a surging Washington Capitals, who are 6-3-1 in their last 10. The New Jersey Devils, who are 3 points behind them, surprisingly 3-7 in their last 10, though they have plenty of talent to make a late run. And then the surging Buffalo Sabres, who the Wings travel to tomorrow night, also 6-3-1 in their last 10. And then the Pittsburgh Penguins, who have lost 3 in a row. Adam, is it, in your honest opinion, first off, let us know from what you're seeing right now if we're in the playoffs currently or if we're looking out. Do you see this as just a blip in the radar or a major concerning point that might befell our fate for these final 18 games of the regular season?
Well, first off, the playoff tie-breaking procedure, according to NHL.com, if 2 or more clubs are tied in points during the regular season, the standing of the club is determined in the following order: the fewer number of games played. So it basically comes down to superior points percentage.
Islanders have that right now.
Yes. And then it goes to the greater number of games won, excluding games won in overtime by shootout. So regulation wins. I mean, as far as where things are at right now, the biggest casualty of that priority sponsorship is Dylan Larkin, right? His presence, his lack of presence on that lineup is the biggest thing right now. You're without your top line centerman, and this is something that we've already seen. Earlier in the season, back in December, Dylan Larkin was out for a number of games as well, and the Red Wings had a horrible December.
Right.
Now, as far as panicking and everything like that goes, I mean, Dylan Larkin should be back soon. So the Red Wings are going to have time to rectify this nosedive that they're in right now. There's still time to pull up from this. So I'm not necessarily worried about it from, that standpoint. And to tell you the truth, I'm not really, I don't think that this really, this doesn't derail anything in the, from a bigger picture sort of thing with this team. Because I know a lot of people heading into the season. I know this is something that we also covered too, and I believe in an earlier episode, may have been the last episode.
I think we've covered it in both the first and the second of the reboot.
This team isn't supposed to be where they're at right now, really.
Right.
This team, it may be hard to picture this, but this team is ahead of schedule. I know a lot of people before the season started, they're like, "Oh yeah, this team has to make the playoffs. They have to make the playoffs, or else it's a failed season." No, it's not. We talked about where this team has been, in the seasons leading up to this year, especially the end of those Ken Holland ran teams where we were basically missing on pick after pick after pick when it comes to those number 1 first round picks.
Right.
GMs typically don't survive that. They typically don't get offered a position within the club and move forward. Yet Ken Holland still kept on getting chance after chance after chance after missing on first round picks. That type of shit, it puts a team back to what we saw in 2019 and 2020 with this team. And in some regard to where we're at right now. Heading into this season, it was always, we always needed more offensively. And that's something that was surprising, earlier on and even, a few weeks ago. Yes, it was great getting Patrick Kane. And he's been an asset, and I hope they go and re-sign him, because he fits in well with this team, but they always needed something else. They always needed another Patrick Kane type of player to put up on those top 2 lines. And we're seeing what happens now. Yes, they have a bunch of depth, on their 3rd and 4th line, but you need depth on that 1st and 2nd line as well. You need scoring depth on that 1st and 2nd line, which is something they still don't have, even with Patrick Kane here. And you're seeing it now with Dylan Larkin out of the lineup.
Right.
So are they going to make the playoffs this year? I think based on what they were able to do in January and throughout most of February, they've put themselves in a good position. Yes, still where they can still go and make a run at the playoffs in this, to finish out the rest of the season, which I think they will. And I think ultimately, yes, they probably will go and make the playoffs based on what they've done earlier on in 2024. If they don't make the playoffs, it's not something I'm going to be terribly surprised about. Because the defense is still lacking.
Right.
They still need a lot of help defensively. And yeah, they still need another high-end top 6 scoring forward.
Yeah.
Because if Dylan Larkin were to go to be out again, if Patrick Kane were to be out again, if DeBrincat was to be injured and out at any point, Lucas Raymond, if he were to be out at any point during this final stretch, then yeah, the Red Wings are in real trouble because they don't have that top 6 scoring depth that perennial playoff teams have, that Stanley Cup contenders have.
Even the Islanders, when you look at the amount of people, because Brock Nelson's laying the lamp for them, but they're getting goals from bars.
100%. So, I mean, this is still very much a team that is in a rebuilding mode. As tough as that may be, for Red Wings fans to hear, it's the truth, and it's the reason why Steve Yzerman didn't do a whole hell of a lot at the trade deadline, because this team still doesn't want to part with draft picks, just because Yzerman has been very, very good at making those high-end draft picks, much better obviously than Ken Holland has been, at the end of that Ken Holland era. But and he's definitely not prepared to get rid of his young talent. I mean, what are they going to do? Like, seriously, what are they going to do? Are they going to go out and trade a Lucas Raymond? Are they going to go out and trade a Sider? Are they going to go out and trade even some of their higher end talent in Grand Rapids? Are they going to go out and trade a Sebastian Cosa or
Justin Hull,
Simone Evansman? What they need to do is they need to get rid of some of their defensemen that they have, so they can call up a guy like Edvinsson. They need to get rid of a Hole. They need to get rid of a Petrie or
Mata.
Mata. Yeah, I mean that's what they ultimately need to do, and you hope that they're able to do that this offseason. But I'm content of where they're at right now, despite the losses. Yes, I don't want to see them rattle off five losses in a row, especially when you're in a playoff hunt right now.
Just that, the manner of how those losses went.
Oh, absolutely. And you look at it too, the Islanders thing, yeah, that sucks. The Panthers, but you look at some of these other teams that they're losing to.
You had 2 leads on the Avs, and then you just fell apart.
Yeah, but going in and losing to the Avs in Colorado, I mean, that's not something to get upset about, down about. Same thing with Vegas, the defending Stanley Cup champions, who are again very good this year.
Retooling.
And then you also lose to the Florida Panthers as well, which there's no shame in losing to the Florida Panthers.
Also won the deadline, big move, getting Tarasenko.
Tarasenko was a huge get for them, and they've got to be seen as one of probably the team coming out of the East.
Yeah.
Once again this year. So,
but the Coyotes game.
The Coyotes game, that's inexcusable. You can't go on the road and lose 4-0 to the Coyotes. You can't do that. That something like that is inexcusable. Yep. And that's why you've got to turn around tomorrow night, and you've got to come out strong against Buffalo. You've got to come out strong against Buffalo. That's a game that the Red Wings need to win. It's a game that they should win, despite how good Buffalo has looked. These past couple weeks. So
I'm going to question the coaching real quick in Arizona because the fact that the Coyotes won 16 out of 18, lost 16 out of their last 18 going into that game, I don't understand why you're not starting James Reimer against the Coyotes and saving your best goalie, your number one, in the game against Vegas, because you did that in January in them at LCA. You won 5-2. And that's a game where, unfortunately, Lyon didn't get the support that he needed to on Friday. 3 goals were, but then it was one of those things where we had looks on Friday. They were either wide or they were just getting saved. But I think getting shut out there is inexcusable.
No, absolutely, 100% inexcusable. With bad play on the ice, when you are when you are slumping, oftentimes.
Yeah,
you have coaches who go through slumps as well, because I don't want to say that Malone is panicking or anything like that, but you start looking to see what is wrong. You might start doing some different things.
Yep.
And sometimes even that might get the better of you, especially when you are in this position right now where you're still, trying to maintain that playoff spot. You're playing teams like Arizona, where maybe you don't think that you need to, compensate for anything else. You can kind of go out there and continue to play your game, not thinking that you're going to go and lose 4-0 to them. So
right. Real quick for that though, I'm kind of misspoken. The Islanders, their win was last night, a 6-1 win in Anaheim against the Ducks. The Islanders do play. They're about to drop the puck in a few minutes. Big game at LA against the Kings. So here's how this works tonight. If the Islanders get a point or two, they're going to be ahead of us on the in the standings. If the Islanders lose tonight to the Kings, they'll have played as many games as the Winds, but the Winds have more regulation and overtime wins. So the Winds would then pop back into that last wild card spot ahead of tomorrow night's game against the Sabres. However, the Islanders have won 6 games in a row. They're looking good, not giving up many goals. But they're playing on the back, and they're playing on a back-to-back against a tough LA Kings team, who's also fighting for a playoff spot in that Western Conference, in that Pacific Division. Anything's possible. One move that the Winds made at the deadline, Klim Kostin traded to the San Jose Sharks for defenseman Radek Šimek and a 7th-round draft pick. Šimek was then sent down to Grand Rapids on Friday. On Saturday, the Winds called back up right winger Jonathan Berggren. I thought he should have been up as soon as Larkin was out, but apparently we needed to make moves in that roster. Hopefully that gives a little bit of a help to that forward line in need of some type of spark while we're waiting for Dylan Larkin's return from injury. So tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Winds at the Sabres. Bally, unfortunately, if you're in the state, 97 won the ticket for radio. Ken Cal, Paul Woods, Daniela Bruce. If it's not Ken Cal, it's the backup guy who's been doing a real good job. I should really know his name, but radio commentary's been clutch this year also too. But the Sabres, the Sabres are now all of a sudden back in the hunt for the playoff spot, 6-3-1 in their last 10, and they're on home ice. So we shall see how that goes. That is the end of period 2. We're going to go into it like it's overtime. We're about to go into the final period here real quick, briefly rundown stuff. Let's start off. You want to start Lions or you want to go Tigers? What do you want to go?
Let's go Tigers.
Tigers. Tariq Skubal, since the last time we recorded, was announced as the opening day starter for the Tigers. That is March 28th, the afternoon, against the motherfucking White Sox in the south side of Chicago. Adam, your thoughts on that and any other details we should be in the loop about in these last couple weeks?
Not surprising. Skubal has, has all the makings of being a dominant left-hander. He's already, shown glimpses of that. I think he's probably definitely, even with Maida, coming on, I think Skubal is probably the ace of the staff. So I'm excited to see that, him continuing to come into form. And he's going up against the White Sox too, which, the Tigers should come out and, the Tigers should do well in that opening series. So we're going to have more Tigers talk, later on, down the line here. So right decision though. Skubal, and he should have a big year this year. So.
Yep, and also will be the Mulligan series will be continuing for the Detroit Tigers in the form of Mulligan on the mound. Be on the lookout for that. That first episode, we'll drop it on opening night. So moving to the Lions. Today was the opening day where you start to get some this past weekend for free agency signings taking place in the NFL. Plenty of things around us. Former Lion DeAndre Swift going to the Bears. 3 years, $24 million, 15.3 million guaranteed. Swift's making more money at the Bears than Gibbs and Montgomery combined. The Packers. The Green Bay Packers picked up Josh Jacobs from the Raiders. Our dear friend and big Packer fan Regan was extremely happy for a little bit, thinking that he had a great 2 running back combo, and then the Packers
about a half hour.
The Packers waived Aaron Jones. So sorry, buddy. I did kind of feel bad when I found that meme of Rodgers coming in with the American flag for the Jets.
I didn't feel bad at all.
Vikings fans, I know you've been miserable. You're about to be
fuck off.
Kirk Cousins to Atlanta. 4 years, was it 4 years, 180 mil? Oh,
which sucks in the sense that Goff extensions is going up and up and up and up. Which I want Goff back. I want Goff back, but it's just making that extension more expensive. I wish they got it. I wish it was already done before that, but
4 years, $180 million for Cousins, $100 million guaranteed.
That's what happens. That's what happens when you have to deal with Desmond Ridder for the entire season, though, if you're the Falcons. So,
Kirk Cousins at 36 years old. Who else is 36? This guy right here. Although I might have better knees, I don't have. We shall see how that goes.
Less mileage.
Definitely less mileage. Not on my car though. Russell Wilson to the Steelers, 1 year, $1.2 million. I mean, he's not going to be worried about. He's still getting paid his $30-something million for the Broncos.
Like $38 million or something like that.
Yeah,
ridiculous amount of money.
As the Broncos have an $85 million cap hit. Ugh, good lord.
No, I think they're strapped with like the largest dead cap hit in NFL history because of that Russell Wilson deal.
So, what else happened nearby in our division? Oh, on other news, our dear friend Kate, who's a Giants fan, is going to be incredibly heartbroken as Saquon Barkley signed with the rival Philadelphia Eagles. So, sorry, but that's kind of like.
I will say a couple of other things. Jonah Jackson signs with big money in LA with the Rams.
$17 million a year, roughly.
Yep. While Brad Holmes continues to just be impressive. It's weird though having a general manager know what the fuck he's doing. Bringing back Graham Glasgow, 3 years was like a $50 million deal with $34 million guaranteed.
Was it that? I thought it was. I didn't think it was that much. Hold please, let me look. Graham Glasgow, 3 year, $20 million.
Oh, $20 million. I'm sorry. No, I'm thinking of the Jonah Jackson deal. No, never mind. Jonah Jackson got 50 with 34 guaranteed from the Rams.
Ryan Glasgow, 3 years, $20 million deal, $9.5 million guaranteed.
God damn! Look at that is incredible value for a good offensive lineman in Graham Glasgow. I was going to say that DeAndre Swift deal with Chicago. Holy shit. If you're a Bears fan and you get rid of David Montgomery last year to bring on DeAndre Swift this year, you've got to be calling for the heads of your entire front office for that one. For one, not getting rid of Matt Eberflus in the offseason, but then going and making a deal like that. Fucking pathetic. Absolutely pathetic that's the deal that you're going to go ahead and make.
Sorry, not sorry to Puck and BJ, fellow friends of ours who BJ has an excuse. He grew up in suburban Chicago. Puck, I don't know what.
Puck has zero excuse. Fuck the Bears.
But in Detroit Lions news, last week, who did they re-sign? They got re-signed Mosley, right?
Yes. They brought back Emmanuel Mosley. Yep.
Deal that I did not see come through today for the Lions. A deal was agreed to for Minnesota Vikings defensive end Marcus Davenport. Maximum value deal of $10.5 million with a $6.5 million base summary. 3 of his 5 seasons, Davenport played under New Orleans with both defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn and Motor City Dan Campbell. 9 sacks with the Saints in 2021, 23.5 sacks and 7 forced fumbles in 6 seasons played. Your thoughts on the move?
It's fine. Obviously, you still want the Lions to go out and make an impact move for a pass rusher. That's ultimately what you want them to do. Somebody you can put opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. I think that's probably one of the biggest needs this offseason. So, whatever, it's fine.
Big news today, though, other than a trade happened between the Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is the one we knew going into. Carlton Davis, cornerback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, member of their Super Bowl winning team in 2020, dealt to the Lions in exchange for a 3rd-round pick. Am I missing anything else in that trade?
I don't believe so, no.
Davis, 12 games last year for the Bucs, 52 tackles, 40 of them solo, 9 pass deflections, 2 interceptions. How are you feeling about that move?
It's fine. And obviously their Lions definitely again looking for upgrades in the secondary too. Let some guys walk, release some guys this offseason so far. So yeah, again, it's just par for the course when it comes to the retooling, and I'm not surprised at all by the Emmanuel Mosley deal. That's a guy that they were high on heading into last offseason, or heading out of last offseason and into the regular season. And obviously, the guy was struck with some injuries at the end of his year. So.
A couple in the 2 games that Davis played against the Lions this year. The first game in the regular season, which was the 20-6 Lions win at Raymond James Stadium, 3 tackles, 2 solo, 1 pass deflection. In the playoffs, though, 7 tackles in the game against the Lions. So all of them solo tackles. So he definitely somebody that made his mark known for the Bucs, as they had a really I would say to an extent surprising year with Baker Mayfield, especially go as the run that they had to make the playoffs and win their first playoff game. So
no, good for Baker Mayfield. Definitely kind of rejuvenated his career there. So
yeah. So
see that.
Sounds like that the online perception of the deal with the Lions and the Bucs is that both teams won. So you kind of like to see that on there. So this is just day 1 of the free agency stuff, so I'm sure there's going to be some more later news. Just be on the lookout, because Brad Holmes is being patient. The draft, remember, is April 25th to the 27th downtown. They released the draft layout for the city. Most of it's going to be taking place near Hart Plaza and the water, with a little bit near Campus Martius. Probably smart, considering the Woodward part by LCA and Comerica is going to be stupid packed, with at least when you consider the Tigers have a weekend series and there's a very good chance of a Redlands playoff game all in the same fucking weekend.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you know what, though? What's not crazy? The Detroit Pistons. They
winners tonight.
See, they won 2 games since we last recorded, which is a little more than 20% of their output. 114. God, you have to. The Charlotte Hornets must suck so bad, considering 3 of our 11 wins this year have been against the Charlotte Hornets. If I was Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan no longer owns the Hornets, correct?
No, he sold them.
However, the Pistons are now level with the Washington Wizards for the worst record in the NBA. I think the Wizards still take it right now. It looks like, due to tiebreaker against the Pistons. But the Stones 11-53. Shout out to our friend Yowdy. You may get him on here come Tiger when we get more and more Tigers. Him and his brother, who's a big Pistons fan, Yowdy, was there tonight. Congratulations. I'll consider you a good luck charm. Next game for the Pistons is the They are taking on what? Let's see here, because they're looking out. This is the Toronto Raptors on Wednesday, 3-1-3 day, 7 p.m., and then 2 games versus the Heat at home, Friday night and Sunday night. All of the 7 o'clock tip off, and Friday night, 3 p.m. on Sunday. I ain't expecting anything from that. Troy Weaver. I didn't fully look at the video. Apparently, he dealt with a heckling fan. Adam, we now have a legitimate excuse to let him go in addition to shitty standings.
I mean, you had an excuse before that, but I mean, look, it seems like the video probably came on like halfway through, but I mean, I think with fans though, I mean, it seems like fans think that they have like this open, ability to, just say whatever the fuck they want to people sometimes.
Like a carte blanche, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I said I pay your salary. I paid for a ticket to be in here. I could say whatever I want, which, there's still going to be some consequences. I mean, players, GMs, coaches, they're fucking human beings still. And if you put anybody in that position, whether they're, you're us or them, people are going to react sometimes. So, I mean, do you want Troy Weaver? I mean, should Troy Weaver talk about beating some guy's ass at a basketball game? Yeah, probably not. But yeah, I mean, you push people, too far sometimes, shit like that happens. So, I mean, fans need to be very, very aware of that. And I mean, the fan was, as much of at fault too, if he's out there, constantly fucking talking shit to Troy Weaver. So, no, but Troy Weaver, I'm not saying he should be fired for something like that. Troy Weaver should be fired for the awful job he's been doing at being the Pistons GM. So
I'm about to take a look at the 4-year run, even though I know it's going to probably hurt my eyes when I see this, because Troy Weaver started, what was it, the 2020-2021 season? Right, so, yeah. That was for their, let me take a look here, just because, so it was their first season. So the shortened, most of the game, it was a 72-game season in 2020-21, 20-52. Then 23-59 in 21-22, Kate Cunningham's first year. And then 17-65 last year. And they are currently 11-53. So if I were to do the addition of that, just because I'm being even more of a fucking sicko right now, and I really want to do this pain point stats, we have won so far 71 games in 4 years. And we have lost. Now, let's do this here as he's doing the calculator. Good thing there's probably not Sammy typing in his calculator right now here. We have lost 229 games.
No, I mean, we talked about the Ken Holland thing where, his horrible draft run at the end of his tenure with the Red Wings would be a green light for anybody to, get fired. Reason enough for anybody to get fired. That shit that you don't survive typically. Same thing with this too. I mean, that record is abysmal. Troy Weaver is incredibly lucky that he's still around, and is probably more of a testament to, just how bad of an owner that Tom Gores is. So
maybe a state of ineptitude across the entire. I don't know if I want to call. I mean, maybe it's fair for us to call it institutional failure.
No, it's totally fair. It is absolutely totally fair.
Considering the fact, and I understand that for many of my, for the first half of my adult life, I can call we had many portions where we were, and not just my adult life, my life in general, we were spoiled. All 3 Detroit Pistons title wins have been in my lifetime, at 89, 90, and 2004. my formative years was when we made 6 straight conference finals from 2003 to 2007, 2008. But when you say that the last time we won a playoff game was the 2007, 2008 season, and we are the only team to have not won a playoff game in the years that since Instagram was created in 2010. Any other ridiculous stats, there's always an outlier lately, it seems, and that is the Detroit Pistons. How the mighty have fallen is an understatement with this team. And I feel for many of those that still devote their time, their energy into either going to see this team play at Little Caesars Arena, especially those that travel, or those that sit and watch these games or listen to the great play-by-play. Is it still Mark Champion calling games on the radio?
Mm-hmm.
Champion and Mahorn, who are, a great duo. But I feel for them, and I feel for George Blaha and Greg Kelser, who have to, remain as professional as ever calling this team. Which, there have been some good performances. Like I said, I'm looking forward to the idea of Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, and Jaden Ivey. But when you make that commitment to giving Monty Williams that much amount of guaranteed money when he was looking to potentially step away from coaching for a little bit because his dealing with an alien wife, you're in a tough situation. You've put yourself in a tough situation, which is not the first time this team has put itself in a tough situation. The trading for Blake Griffin, the Andre Drummond contract, a lot of things. There's just more than that. There's, if we could record an entire episode if we wanted to about many of the Pistons' failures over the last decade plus. But if that were to happen, my blood pressure were to increase significantly. Adam would go in completely gray, and we need him for other things, especially at the start of this Detroit City season. And yeah, but the Lions turned it around. Maybe the Pistons will, except every time the Pistons win on a Lions game day, the Lions wind up losing. So who knows? But we're going to end this on a little bit more of an uplifting way. I want to thank Sean Spence for joining us earlier today for the debut of City Make Spence ahead of Detroit City's men's season opening this coming Saturday night, 8 p.m. So ESPN Plus, the CBS Detroit. I'm not sure if it's on both WWJ and WKBD-TV 50. We'll keep people in the loop. Adam, we're going to drop that on the majors for when we know for sure where all those games are going to be at.
We'll definitely drop it on there.
CBSSportsDetroit.com. So, yeah, and then for further inside Detroit City talk, Tunnel Talk's going to be dropping this week. Adam will be popping in on that. Our friend Dennis, our comrade Dennis is going to be hosting. I'm not going to be on as much regularly on that, but you'll definitely see our city content for Mullet and Over City, which is also on the 451 page, as well as the Majors Detroit content that Adam drops on our socials, whether it be Instagram or TikTok for the ones that vibe to that more. Other Adam, what else am I missing for links and promotions?
Nothing. Just check us out on themajorsports.com, channel 451, 451.themajorsports.com. You can check us out on our socials as well. TMS Next Detroit over on Twitter.
GM Komatz for me, Twitter, Instagram, Discord. And yeah,
TMS Next Adam for me.
Love all the Discord. I love having good discussions with all of our Detroit sports folk, good, bad, and all of that in between. Garret here, Adam there. Until next time, night, motherfuckers.
See ya.